And so now we continue with our meeting. We have several initial votes. But first, please note the colors of the name tags for both lay and clergy voting delegates. Auglaize Valley has the cherry-colored tags. Lakeshore Region has green. Sandusky Valley, yellow. The different colors show that you are voting delegates in that particular region, which doesn't make a difference until the time of the elections later on this morning. Those with cream name tags are visitors, and those with white name tags are staff. And at this time, I will invite you to take the agenda for the meeting out of your folders. It is printed on salmon-colored paper with the forum descriptions on the back. I would like to entertain a motion to accept the agenda as printed. And name and church, please. Okay, and may I have a second? Name and church, please. Okay. A motion has been made and seconded to accept the agenda as printed. All in favor, say yes. Yes. Those opposed indicate by saying no. Motion carries. A reminder that those who have voice and vote are ordained ministers who hold standing in Northwest Ohio Association or serve a church in the Northwest Ohio Association, lay members of the cabinet, previous lay moderators of Northwest Ohio Association who still hold membership in a church in the Northwest Ohio Association, persons professionally employed full-time as Christian education specialists within the Northwest Ohio Association, commissioned ministers of the Northwest Ohio Association, licensed ministers with standing in the Northwest Ohio Association, and local churches represented by the delegates the churches have selected to represent them. And we have traditionally granted voice and vote to some folks who are not official delegates according to our bylaws. Reverend Sherry Holdridge and 2 delegates from the village. I would like to entertain a motion to grant voice and vote to these individuals. Name and church, please. Okay. Is there? Okay. The motion has been made and seconded to grant voice and vote to the individuals listed. Those in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. I'd like to invite Dan to come forward, please.
Things this year that all the people who are presenters this year are from Northwest Ohio Association. So Marion Plant, you do have voice and vote. So she is our keynoter. Back Bay Mission representative is Reverend, didn't I see her? Yes. Jeanette Tangeman, and she also holds standing in the Northwest Ohio Association. United Church Homes will be represented by Reverend Becky Jones, who is the chaplain at Fairhaven Community, and they also hold standing. Where Becky, I saw over here. There was also supposed to be another person, Catherine Lawrence, who's on the board. She's sick. Should that be an excuse? But we also have a special person among us, the Reverend Phil Hart, who is the Ohio Conference Minister. And one of the few things I get to do is I get to move that we grant Phil voice to speak at our meeting today. So I make a motion that Phil Hart be granted voice to speak to us today. Second. You want to say somebody to second it?
Oh, yes. Could we please have someone to second that motion? All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
You get to speak. Not yet. Queen retaliatory.
And now I have the pleasure to let you know who the following individuals are who have agreed to be tellers for this meeting. Our head teller today is Reverend Gary Peretti. And please stand as I introduce you. Thank you. From the Auglaize Valley region, Mr. Brian Anders. From Auglaize Valley, Reverend Elaine Mikesell. From Lakeshore region, Reverend Catherine Hilleman. From Lakeshore region, Mr. Doug Ricci. From the Sandusky Valley region, Mrs. Peggy George. And from Sandusky Valley region, Pastor Darla Metz. Thank you. And I would also like to acknowledge Garland Gates, who has agreed to be the parliamentarian for the meeting and will help us follow the standing rules. Garland, would you please stand? Thank you. And our association secretary, Sharon Flickinger, will be taking the minutes for today. The standing rules for the meeting are located in the annual report book on page A6 in the salmon-colored section. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the standing rules as listed on page A6.
So moved. Becky Sunday, St. Paul UCC, Wapakoneta.
Thank you.
Second, Mary Plant, St. John's Pines.
Okay. The motion has been made and seconded to adopt the standing rules. All in favor, say yes. Those opposed indicate by saying no. And the motion carries. Also in the annual report book are the minutes of the 50th annual meeting of the association last spring. Those begin on page B6, which is the turquoise colored section. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the 50th annual association meeting. Okay. Is there a second? Okay. What was, say your last name again, please? P-O-N-D. P-O-N-D. Thank you. Okay. A motion has been made and is seconded. All in favor, say yes. Yes. Those opposed indicate by saying no. And that motion carries. And at this time, I would invite Pastor John Papuzza, Chair of Church and Ministry Team, to introduce those leaders who are newly authorized by the association, and also Reverend Becky Sunday to introduce our persons in discernment. If you both would please come forward.
We speak to those who are having ordination anniversaries, and Becky, we do them one at a time, or you want to jump on? I hope your anticipation has grown for this, for what we've been waiting. We do want to welcome our new ministers and people into our denomination. The first one is Pastor Tresslin Hodgkinson, Union UCC in Bascom. Reverend Doug Adams, Westminster Christian in Herod. Reverend Daniel Sather, St. John UCC Holgate. Reverend Scott Johnson, St. John UCC Kenton. Reverend Donald Rock, Emmanuel UCC in Kettlersville. Reverend Dawn Donato, St. John's UCC in Mansfield. Pastor Julia Bertolon, St. Peter's UCC in Millbury. Reverend Kyle Timmons, St. Paul UCC Oak Harbor. Pastor Ashley Kelly, New Vision UCC Toledo. Reverend Rebecca Sunday, St. Paul UCC Wapakoneta. Reverend Michelle Dyer, St. Paul UCC Wapakoneta. Reverend Michael Cassidy, Spencerville UCC Spencerville. Reverend Gary Prietti, Calvary UCC Crestline. Reverend Jerry Curtin, Wakeman Congregational in Wakeman. Pastor Margaret Mills, St. John UCC Elmore. And Rebecca Jones, chaplain at Fairhaven Community, Upper Sandusky. Those retiring? You want me to do that? Okay. Those retiring, Reverend Gail Gebhardt from Westminster Christian in Herod, and Reverend Elizabeth Proudfoot, First Congregational UCC Sandusky.
Those of us who are members of the discernment working group of the church and ministry team have the joy of working with those who are in various stages of discerning a call to authorized ministry in the United Church of Christ. It is my privilege to introduce to you those individuals that are currently active in that discernment process. I would ask that if they are present, they would stand and remain standing as their names are called. Adam Boland. Adam's home church is New Vision UCC Toledo. Adam is a student at Weinbrenner, has been pastor at Zion UCC Bettsville, and will be going to military training soon. Darla Metz. Darla is a member of St. John's UCC Tiffin, is studying at Methodist Theological School in Ohio, and serves as pastor at Republic UCC. Bill Kerr. Bill is a member of Congregational UCC in Wauseon, where he also serves as pastor. And Rebecca Malarski. Rebecca's home church is First UCC Gallion, and she is currently studying at Eden Seminary. For all of you, our prayers and God's blessings are with you. Thanks be to God.
At this time, I would like to invite Dan Bush to come back to introduce the guests who are with us today.
By the way, I just want to say how appreciative I was of the singing today. Wouldn't this be wonderful to have this kind of singing going on every Sunday? Which happens here at St. Paul's, right? Yes, so they're used to it, right? The association through the Ohio Conference has a relationship with 12 UCC institutional partners that are involved in mission and ministry with us and for us. Downstairs in the display area, you will see many displays from our partners, and also at each annual meeting, they come and share their time with us. And each year, there's a rotation among the 5 associations and conference of those 12 institutions. And this year, I would like to introduce, first of all, Jeanette Tangeman to come forward to share with us the work about Back Bay Mission. have to get it taller.
Good morning. I'd like to tell you today about a place that has become sort of a second home for my husband Terry and myself, Back Bay Mission, located in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's been there longer than I've been because it started in 1922 and is still going very strong in the community. My husband and I began going there, I started, in fact, in 2003, but since Katrina, we have taken groups there at least once a year, and for the last 4 years, we've been long-term volunteers there. So I want to just whet your appetite. There are 2 workshops later, 2 forums offered, that I hope that some of you will want to learn more about Back Bay Mission. As I said, it was started in 1922, and it was a mission for the fishermen and their families at that time, and it was located right on the Back Bay. Because of building casinos, it got relocated in the 1990s, and it is about 6 blocks from the beach, so it's a really lovely place to visit, as well as a place that is doing the most awesome ministry. They have changed their ministries many times depending on the changes needed in the community. As they like to say, they have their pulse on the community so that they know. They have also almost been taken totally away from some of the changes. They lived through the civil rights movement when they helped to do a wade-in. They lost the UCC churches at that time because the people were threatened. Their jobs were threatened, their homes were threatened, their families were threatened because the Back Bay Mission stood behind the civil rights folks. They also almost lost the mission to Hurricane Camille in the 60s and also Hurricane Katrina. Katrina wiped out 6 of their 7 buildings, and so they had to rebuild the one that was left, and instead of making 6 small buildings, they have made 2 other large buildings, one a wonderful volunteer center where you stay when you come down, and the other, the Micah House, which I'll speak of in just a moment. They have birthed many things over the years, and they continue to help people get started in things that then can go on their own, one of which was a soup kitchen, which is still operating and we do work in. One is Rebecca House, which is a house for families who are looking for work and a place to live, and they are allowed to stay there and are helped in those ways. Coastal Family Health Centers, which is now a multi-million group of health centers in, I think they said 13 counties, and a women's anti-violence shelter. They also had a lot of problem when they supported abused women because sometimes things in the South are not quite the same as things we are used to, and many people said, you just go home and be a better woman, and this would not happen. But they persisted, and they still have the anti-violence shelter. Currently, they have a construction program, which is the one that most of you might be familiar with, because that's what draws the volunteers. Every week, volunteers come from all over the United States throughout the year, usually over 800 and some per year. And they serve homeowners who are elderly, who are disabled, who are low income, or maybe all 3. This has advanced from just painting and repair to now they are able to build from the ground up, depending on the need. The volunteers come because they love it. They come because someone else who loved it told them. They come to share their skills, and they come to learn new skills, and they come because God calls them to that place. It is a place where they say, you can change a life every day. It might be yours, but it's definitely also the people that you work with down there. They flip houses. Been given grants to go into houses that have been repossessed and totally redo them and resell them for the price that they have in them for low income. They have built a duplex and are building apartments for homeless veterans. The military presence there is very large with Keesler Air Force Base, and there are a lot of, unfortunately, homeless veterans. The Micah House serves some of those homeless veterans and also homeless in the community where they can shower, change clothes, get their clothes washed, etc., and a lot of other things to help them regain integrity and get back into the community if that is what they wish. If not, and some people do choose to be homeless, at least it gives them a place where they know someone cares about them. And they also have emergency assistance in the food pantry, clothing, utilities, prescriptions. They have assistance for veterans and their families who need housing, and they have a Home at Last program for people who need to get off the streets and into apartments. They also are very active in the political system of the community, and lately the community has become very much more involved than it ever has before. They subsist on donations and grants and all of that volunteer help. So I would ask that if any of you are interested in going, you see me, we have a trip coming up February 1st through the 7th. We also will come to your church or your group and speak in depth about this. And I encourage you to go to the workshops and learn more. This is a ministry that is unlike any I have ever been a part of, and I am very proud of it. You should be too.
It was wonderful to be down at Back Bay also, so I've made a trip down there. And Jeanette, you really do work hard for us, for the church, so thank you for all the work that you do. Other guests today, having tables downstairs. Marion Plant has brought some books, and she wants you to know they are not free, but you can put a donation. So whatever the donation, you can have the book then. But make sure you do a donation. You know, $100 bills are fine. For students for their mission trips.
Well, be able to take books, but be able to take them to professional conferences. There's so often there's no budget to take them to the very places that will network our religion and ministry studies students in with the people who they will be networking with from then on and get introduced to the professional level. So this money all goes from my library books to your wallet to the students going off to mission or to conferences.
Well, it is mission and a conferences, so it's our mission so they become adequate persons to do their professions. So, okay. Frank Isaac is here as part of the El Salvador team, and they will talk to you about it anytime you want to, right, Frank? And Frank and others would be willing to come to your churches to talk about El Salvador. So there is a display downstairs. Becky Bloxham, would you stand? Didn't I say? She is representing United Church Homes, and they have a table downstairs. Courtney Reese, is she here? Courtney Reese? Was from Parkview. Was she going to be here? Oh, she's here. Okay. Randall Ryder from Crossroads. I saw him this morning. Yes. You know, it's really hard to see people from way up here. Sarah, Dr. Alan Mikesel. Reverend Paul Stark is the chaplain, religious studies at Heidelberg. I know he's here. Sandy Hodder is representing Grace Community. Nice. Okay. David Montgomery, Toledo Campus Ministry.
I'm here in the middle
Okay. And you heard about Jeanette Tangeman, Ashley Kelly. Stand. Doing a fine ministry at New Vision. Thank you. Terry Kohansky, Witness and Proclamation. I know she's in the back. All these back people.
Dan, we can see you far away really good.
But there's just one of me. You get kind of together, and it's, have trying to weave between things.
I just thought you didn't want to smoke because you lost your spectacles.
Well, they're in my eye. Is Michelle Dyer here? Faith Formation. Please look at that.
Extravagant welcome is going to be faith formations.
With extravagant welcome. So please. Okay. So anyway, those are the people who are representing the various displays downstairs. Okay. Oh, now we get to introduce Phil Hart. Phil Hart is one who has come on board as a designated conference minister, but he really is our conference minister. And as you notice, we all look up to him. He was here once before as an interim for Ohio Conference, has come back, and has been very busy in his position. And we're glad to have him on board as our conference minister now. And so, Phil, welcome to Northwest Ohio Association.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I got a little nervous when you started voting on whether I could speak or not, because I didn't quite understand the process. It seemed to take a while to get that through. But it is great to be with you, and I bring you greetings from your sisters and brothers across this entire conference. We're getting some feedback. And from the entire United Church of Christ. All across this country and over 5,000 congregations, we are meeting as a common body to push forward a message of God's love and extravagant welcome and continuing testament and a focus on changing lives. And that's what it means to be United Church of Christ. So I'm just so proud to be part of the community, and I'm proud to be with you all too. I'm really proud to the leadership here from Northwest, from Dan to Sam and Pam, and actually you can have more than 3 letters in your name and still be participating in the wider church, but so many of you have contributed to the wider church. I'm so thankful for that, and I'm thankful for your church's wider mission giving to not only the association and the conference, but the wider church as well. As Dan said, when I got here, we had to take on some pretty big things right away. And you'll be hearing more about that as we go along. But of course, we had to take on outdoor ministry issues right away because we had just financially come to a point where that could no longer sustain itself. I am happy to say, and this is due to a lot of hard work from Sam and the board and a lot of other people, and unfortunately a lot of change in people's lives, but we will go from somewhere between a deficit of $350,000 last year to actually a net positive this year and next year. So we have done a lot of hard work. It's affected a lot of people's lives. We continue to pray and help and support them during this transition. But we have now reached a place where we are sustainable and have steadied the ship. And we can begin to dream about what we might be. And that's really important because there's a great future ahead, even if it doesn't look like it has in the past. General Synod's coming next year. I am happy to announce we are going to have cookies. There was some rumor of a movement to do away with cookies, and I said, I'm not going to be the conference minister of the conference that does away with cookies at General Synod. So, I mean, small victories. I won that one. So there are going to be cookies, so please bake lots of cookies. We've also got something really interesting coming up with our annual gathering. We're the first middle judicatory that we know of that will actually be having our annual gathering at 3 separate locations simultaneously. So we will be meeting at the Cleveland national offices at our church house. We'll be meeting at United Seminary here and at Methesco in Columbus. We will join together during our business meeting and our keynote speaker, and we will have other things going on, at each individual site. This is going to be an experiment, and so please come join it with us, will you? And we'll see what we can do and what we can learn from it. Just briefly, I was coming up this way, and Indian Lake, is right here. Several years ago, my brothers and my dad and I came up for kind of a boys' retreat, and one night my brother and I decided to go night fishing. It was kind of a night of terror overall. Before we got out of the dock, the boat began to sink because we forgot to put in the plug. And then as we were driving out to the fishing spot, the poles got caught in the water and they flew out, and we had to go back and get those. And as we sat at the fishing spot, a bird, some kind of bird, was captured by some kind of mean thing and was slowly doing harm to it, I think. That's what it sounded like. On the way back, we almost ran headlong into a buoy and almost crashed the boat. And so, I should have known, because really pretty much all the scars on my body somehow relate to this brother that I went out with, right? But it was the possibility that made me go. And my friends, I can say with full confidence that the Church of Jesus Christ is entering into waters and lands that we have never been before. And it's scary. And it's disturbing. And it's different. But God has placed in God's people this spirit of curiosity and creativity. God has put in us as a people the blood of the pilgrims that still flows through us. And so it is going to be much different. And it's going to require a people of God that have much faith, much curiosity, and trust each other as we go out into this unknown land. I am glad to be on this journey. I really am. And I'm really glad to be on it with you. And we will figure out where it goes, how we get there, what it looks like in due time. But every point, every step, every moment will be with God, and that is enough for us.
And now the short person. Thank you. At this time, I would ask Reverend David Williams, member of the nomination committee, to come forward to bring nominations before us.
You will find in your folder this morning 3 different colored ballots, each by the region. The nominating committee places in nomination this morning for Northwest Ohio Secretary Sharon Flickinger, and also 7 delegates for General Synod, Reverend Catherine Lawrence, Reverend Judy Westman, Reverend Kyle Timmons, Pastor John Papuzza, Katie Smith, Karen Miller, and Evelyn Chin, and alternate Reverend David Jones. Then by region, the various teams need to be filled. You will note that there are several openings. If you have an ability and desire and would like to serve, the nominating committee would love to hear from you. I did note to Joan, as we were talking about how to fill some of the seats in the various regions, that possibly in the future, that if we are not able to secure nominated persons to serve, that we would then look within the entire association to fill the teams appropriately, rather than have so many open spots. Are there any further nominations this morning? Madam Chair, I move the acceptance of the ballot for a single ballot of nomination and acclamation.
Okay.
David, also say the part of the secretary has to be in this ballot for all.
That the secretary will also cast a unanimous ballot.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, may I have a motion to close nominations?
He did it.
Oh, he did it. Okay, I'm sorry. Motion has been made to close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for nominees. Is there a second? Marion Plant. Okay. We are voting to close the nominations and instructing the secretary to cast a unanimous ballot. All those in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. The motion carries.